The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy wakes up in her Kansas bed after her wild adventure through Oz, and just like that, everything unravels as a dream. Aunt Em's right there, telling her she hit her head and imagined the whole thing. The film flips the switch between sepia-toned Kansas and the full Technicolor chaos of Oz to hammer home the dream logic. It's not subtle either. Every major Oz character is played by the same actors as her Kansas acquaintances. The credits don't even try to separate them. Frank Morgan plays both Professor Marvel and the Wizard, no disguise in the cast list. That blend gives it away. The film makes sure you know it's not a real alternate world, unlike the book where Oz is an actual place Dorothy could live. Here, it's all an elaborate mental escape. Dorothy tries convincing everyone she really went there, but it's brushed off. The dream choice pushes the message hard. Home matters most. Total recall. Quaid stands on Mars, blue skies overhead, Melina beside him, and everything looks perfect, maybe too perfect. The final shot lingers as he stares off and wonders aloud, was it real? Earlier he'd picked the blue skies on Mars fantasy at Recall, and suddenly after the injection, his life flips into chaos. He sees Melina in the promo screen before meeting her, fights spies, discovers he's maybe a double agent, and ends up saving Mars with a secret alien machine. Sounds suspiciously like a tailor-made fantasy. There's no implant mark on his arm later, which should be there if this was real. The hotel scene where Dr. Edgemar tries to pull him out makes things even murkier. He insists it's all a delusion. The film even shifts perspectives when Quaid isn't present, bending the rules of a traditional memory. Still, the scale of what happens is massive, suggesting it might have actually happened, but the ambiguity sticks, and that final line, it's a wink and a shrug rolled into one. By the way, if you guys like movie content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Mulholland Drive. The first half floats through Betty's bright-eyed arrival in Los Angeles, her bizarre bond with amnesiac Rita, and their eerie adventure through casting calls, conspiracy, and that cryptic blue box. But once the box opens, everything fractures. Betty vanishes, Diane appears, and suddenly we're looking at the wreckage of a failed life. Diane's a struggling actress tormented by jealousy and guilt, shattered by Camilla's success and rejection. She hires a hitman, sees the blue key reappear as a death signal, and spirals into despair. The Club Silencio moment shreds the illusion, announcing there is no band right before the dream implodes. The film loops through haunting echoes, ending with Diane's suicide and the whisper of Silencio as the screen fades. The structure flips the whole narrative, making that glossy beginning feel like Diane's dying fantasy. Clues like the identical faces, distorted timelines, and dream logic point toward the idea that the Betty-Rita romance is just her wishful projection, collapsing under the weight of grief and regret. A nightmare on Elm Street. Nancy sets her trap, drags Freddy into her house, lights him up, and for a moment, it looks like the nightmare's over. Then, the next morning hits. It's sunny, foggy, strangely peaceful. Her dead friends are suddenly alive, her mom's sober and smiling, and Nancy hops into a convertible like it's just another school day. But then, the red and green roof slams shut, the doors lock, the car speeds off, and Nancy screams. Freddy's sweater colors on the roof aren't subtle, and back at the house, her mom's yanked through a door window like a rag doll. This whole final sequence plays with dream logic, bizarre timing, impossible events, sudden tonal shift. The fog, the ghostly jump rope girls, and Freddy's reappearance all push the idea that Nancy never left the dream. Wes Craven originally wanted a clean ending, but the studio pushed for this twist, which blurs the line between reality and nightmare so much, it's likely the whole thing's still happening inside her head. Click. Michael skips his way through life with a magical remote, hitting fast forward on everything from arguments to illnesses until he's old, broken, and collapsing in the rain outside a hospital. His son's leaving, his wife's remarried, and his father's already gone. Just as he dies telling Ben to put family first, he wakes up back in the Bed Bath and Beyond showroom before any of it happened. The remote's gone, Morty's vanished, and it's 2006 again. That whole painful future was either a vivid dream or some bizarre second chance vision delivered by the angel of death in a bathrobe. Michael races home, hugs his family, and decides not to mess it up this time. Later, he finds the remote on his counter with a note encouraging him to make better choices, but when he tosses it out, it stays gone. No boomerang effect, no sequel bait, just a final very clear reset. Everything that happened, the career climb, health collapse, divorce, death, reads like a dream designed to slap him awake. Vanilla Sky. David's world shatters after Julie's car crash leaves him disfigured, and everything that follows spirals into a reality he can't trust. He finds comfort with Sophia, but strange glitches start stacking. Blank streets, warped time, surreal conversations. Eventually, tech support shows up and breaks the illusion. David's been dead and frozen for over a century. Turns out he paid for a lucid dream package with a life extension, and everything post-crash has been synthetic. The mask he wears, just part of the construct. The sticker on his car with a non-existent date, the empty Times Square, and the jar jarring tonal shifts all point to unreality. On the rooftop, he has a choice: stay in the dream or jump to wake up. He leaps. His eye opens. The final voice says, "Open your eyes." The whole story gets reframed as a dream he was living inside a frozen mind, not a sequence of real-life events. The clues were always there, he just didn't want to see them. Shutter Island. Teddy Daniels arrives at Ashcliff to solve the case of a missing patient, but everything unravels fast. Hallucinations, cryptic clues, flashbacks to dead children, and a partner who vanishes. In the lighthouse, he gets the twist. He's not a U.S. Marshal, he's Andrew Latis, a patient. The whole investigation was a staged roleplay by doctors hoping to snap him out of his delusion before resorting to a lobotomy. His name, an anagram. So is Rachel Solando. His partner, Chuck, just his psychiatrist in disguise. After confronting the truth, he seems lucid, until the last scene. Sitting calmly, he asks, which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man? Then he walks off with the orderlies. It's never confirmed if he's faking the relapse to avoid guilt or if he's lost in his fantasy again. But factually, the film shows the detective plot was never real, just a psychological script playing out in a mind that couldn't accept reality. Dead of Night. Walter Craig shows up at a quiet country house, already convinced he's lived this exact moment before. Every guest inside feels oddly familiar, and as they each share eerie stories, Craig's unease builds. By the end, he snaps, strangles the psychiatrist, loses his grip on reality, and suddenly jolts awake in bed. But just as it seems he's escaped, the phone rings. It's the same invitation from the same man at the same cottage. He even says a trip might help clear his nightmares. Then we're back to where it all started. The car, the house, the same path. The entire film wraps itself into a perfect loop, making it clear that Craig's trapped in the nightmare, cycling through it over and over. The repetition is filmed exactly the same. Every clue, every deja vu, every frame turns out to be part of the same endless sequence, where escape never arrives. Repo Men. Remy goes from top-tier Oregon repo man to hunted fugitive after getting one of the Union's artificial hearts himself. He tries to escape the system, helps Beth survive, and eventually they storm corporate headquarters, wipe the debt records, and escape to paradise. He's written a book, he's on a beach, and for once, everything feels calm. Then it cracks. That peaceful ending, all fabricated. Turns out Remy's brain was fried in a fight with Jake, and what looked like a triumphant revolution was just a neural simulation designed to keep his comatose mind occupied. The happy ending plays like wish fulfillment because it is. The moment we see him in the chair, drooling and blank-eyed, the illusion shatters. Everything after that hit to the head was just a program. Even his partnership with Jake, his book, the debt-free escape, none of it was real. The twist reframes the final act as a digital dream, not a heroic ending, and Remy never actually gets free. Waking Life. The unnamed protagonist drifts through a parade of surreal conversations, bouncing from philosophers to drifters to lucid dreamers, never quite grounded, always shifting. He starts noticing the signs: clocks behave strangely, light switches fail, and reality warps without warning. Eventually it hits him. He's not awake. He's stuck in layers of dreams, each one pretending to be the last. The final scene circles back to where he began, standing beside a parked car, reaching for the door. But instead of getting in, he lifts off the ground and floats skyward, past treetops, into the clouds, and disappears. Earlier, a child in the same driveway had floated in that same way. A quiet warning that the line between dreams and waking life was never real. The rotoscoped visuals reinforce that unreality. Faces morph, backgrounds pulse, nothing stays still. The levitation is surrender. The dream doesn't end. He doesn't wake up. He simply keeps dreaming. And now, he's not coming back. The big sleep. Marlowe wraps up his chaotic investigation, returns Carmen home, and gives Vivian a warning. Her sister needs serious help. He's solved what he can, but the whole thing's a tangle. Pornographers, blackmailers, gangsters, multiple murders, and not every knot is tied. The chauffeur's death, still a mystery. Chandler himself didn't know who did it. Rusty Reagan's disappearance. Turns out Carmen shot him, and Vivian covered it up, but that only surfaces late, and even then it's treated like a loose thread just barely stitched shut. The film doesn't clarify motives or tie up every character arc, it just closes the door. Marlowe gets paid and drives off into the fog. Case closed, but not clean. The story never admits it was a dream, but it moves like one. Disjointed, slippery, and morally murky. There's no neat resolution, no big speech, just a detective walking away from a mess no one can fully explain. The only certainty left is that Marlowe's too tired to chase ghosts. Inception. Cobb walks through the airport, free at last, and goes straight home to his kids. He spins the top, the screen cuts before it falls, and everyone watching has been arguing ever since. That top's supposed to tell him if he's dreaming. It spins forever in dreams, but falls in real life. The thing is, he's not watching it anymore. He's staring at his children children, like the rest doesn't matter. He's also not wearing his wedding ring, which only shows up when he's in a dream. Michael Caine's character is there too, and Nolan told him he only appears in real scenes. But still, the top's wobble never completes, and that final spin leaves it hanging. There's that impossible date on a car sticker earlier, the eerie dream layering, the timed music drops, and the fact that Nolan himself said the question of whether it's a dream or not isn't the point. Cobb chooses to let go, whether the world's real or just another level deep. Jacob's ladder. Jacob wakes up in Brooklyn after being stabbed in Vietnam, but everything feels off. His memories shift, people morph, and strange visions haunt every corner of his life. His son Gabe is dead, his wife's gone, and he's living with Jesse, who seems to know too much. As the hallucinations get more intense, eyeless faces, twitching heads, hospitals that look like purgatory, Jacob starts digging. He's told his unit was dosed with a drug called ladder, meant to turn soldiers into killers. But that revelation doesn't matter as much as what comes next. He walks into his old home, sees Gabe waiting, and climbs the stairs into a white light. Then it cuts back. Jacob's still in Vietnam, dying in a field hospital. The whole Brooklyn sequence, a death state dream. The demons, the paranoia, the glimpses of peace, they were all part of his mind letting go. He didn't survive the war. He never made it home. He just needed to find a way to stop fighting. Wisdom. John Wisdom becomes a folk hero outlaw, robbing banks across the country with his girlfriend Karen, not for cash, but to wipe out debt records and strike back at a system that shut him out. They're chased, shot at, ambushed by helicopters, and finally cornered in a stadium where Karen is wounded and John is gunned down. It plays like a final stand until it isn't. Suddenly, he's back in his parents' bathroom, waking up in the tub, no bullet holes, no blood, no headlines. He's just a young man getting ready for a job interview right where the movie started. That entire crime spree never happened. The film offers no explanation, no time travel, no flashback, just a quiet reset that erases the revolution. It turns out the chaos, the rebellion, the doomed romance was all in his head, possibly just a daydream, sparked by frustration and a bad haircut. The movie pulls the rug at the last minute, flipping the whole story from anti-establishment saga to imagined escape. Take shelter. Curtis sees storms that haven't come, rain that looks like oil, and birds swarming in impossible patterns. Convinced something catastrophic is on the horizon, he drains his savings to build a shelter, wrecks his job, and strains his marriage, all while questioning if he's inherited his mother's schizophrenia. A tornado scare finally justifies his panic, sending his family into the shelter. But when he opens the door, the sky is calm, the danger minimal. It looks like vindication for everyone else, but not for Curtis. Then, at a beach getaway, his daughter signs the word storm. Oily rain begins to fall, a towering storm brews in the distance. His wife looks at him and softly says, "Okay." No sirens, no cut to black, just quiet acceptance. The storm might be real, or it might be another vision. The film gives you both options and refuses to choose. Either way, Curtis isn't alone anymore. Whether prophecy or breakdown, his family's now inside it with him. Fight Club. The narrator starts out miserable, sleepless, and bored by his hollow job, but everything changes after he meets Tyler Durden. They build an underground fight club, then an anti-corporate militia, and all the while, Tyler's charisma fuels chaos. But then comes the collapse. Tyler isn't real. He's a split personality created by the narrator's fractured mind. Every plan, every beating, every order Tyler gave was the narrator all along. Once he realizes it, he turns the gun on himself. Not to die, but to end Tyler. He survives with a gaping cheek wound and Tyler vanishes. Then he takes Marla's hand and watches the skyline erupt in controlled demolition. The credit buildings fall, and the world they tried to burn down starts crumbling for real. The twist doesn't erase what happened, it reframes it. The events were real, the explosions are real, but the man leading them was never who we thought. Tyler was a projection. The narrator was the one pulling every string. Alice in Wonderland. Alice falls down a rabbit hole at a garden party and stumbles into a world of chessboard politics, moody royalty, and monsters with names like Jabberwocky. She swings a sword, slays the beast, and restores order to a kingdom that runs on riddle logic and dream physics. Then, just like that, she wakes up. Not in bed, but in the middle of the same party, clothes shredded, only seconds gone. No one saw the battle, the creatures, or the White Queen's tea service. It's all back to corsets and suitors. Yet Alice's entire outlook has shifted. She declines the marriage proposal, announces a plan to work in shipping, and sets off to travel the world. The Wonderland she left behind was full of talking animals and mushroom-induced growth spurts, but it clearly plays like a vision, full of metaphor and self-reflection. It never says dream, but it doesn't need to. She went down the hole, faced her fears, and came back different. 47 meters down. Lisa and Kate are trapped in a shark cage at the bottom of the ocean, running out of air with predators circling. After a tense battle for survival, Lisa escapes, finds Kate injured, switches tanks, fends off sharks with a flare, and together they swim to the surface. On the boat, they laugh in relief, then it breaks. Lisa's still at the bottom. Her hand is bleeding, but the blood rises in slow motion, not to the surface, but into her imagination. The radio garbles. Kate's voice fades. That entire escape? It was never real. Everything after Lisa switched tanks was a hallucination brought on by nitrogen narcosis. In truth, Kate is dead, and Lisa's still pinned under the cage, alone, breathing through her final tank. Rescue divers finally arrive, but the triumphant escape the film just played out was all in her mind. The film uses visual clues, audio shifts, and the tank warning to tip its hand. The "we made it" ending was a fantasy, not a rescue. The descent. Sarah fights her way through pitch black tunnels and a pack of blind predators, climbs a mountain of bones, and escapes into the sunlight. She drives off, breathes the air, then turns and sees Juno, bloody and dead-eyed, sitting silently beside her. But in the UK version, it doesn't end there. That car ride, all in her head. She's still deep underground, hallucinating, smiling at a vision of her daughter while a flare flickers. The sound of crawlers grows louder. She never escaped. The freedom sequence was a dying fantasy, one last illusion before the inevitable. Her trauma, grief, and guilt spiral into a final imagined release, but the film snaps it back. The daylight was never real. Sarah's still in the cave, alone, and the creatures are closing in. The original cut removes any doubt. The happy ending is just a cruel trick. The descent was into her mind, and she's not climbing out. Femme Fatale. Laura pulls off a diamond heist in Cannes, double-crosses her crew, slips away, and assumes the identity of a grieving widow named Lily. She vanishes for 7 years, reemerges as a diplomat's wife, and gets tangled up with a paparazzo who starts uncovering her past. Her old accomplices close in, chaos erupts, and she ends up dead. Until it doesn't happen. Suddenly, it's revealed that everything after she stepped into Lily's bathtub was a dream. That entire storyline, Ambassador's wife, photo scandals, murders, was just a nightmare version of what could have gone wrong. In reality, Laurie stops Lily's suicide, skips the identity swap, and sidesteps the dominoes that would have destroyed her. The final moment when the paparazzo asks if they've met and she replies, "Only in my dreams," seals it. The whole middle act gets pulled like a rug. Her imagined fate collapses, replaced by a quiet reset. It was prevention, built on the back of a dream that warned her exactly how badly things could fall apart. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.